This is the fellow passenger. Today we're going to get creative with Meld. I've realized that it's got something quite unusual with its LFO, which allows you to use an instance of Meld like a strange sort of Groovebox. I'm going to explain in a moment why, but here is a little glimpse of what we will be making. Okay, we've got a clean instance of Meld. I'm going to turn the second voice off for now, so we just hear voice A. I realized because I by mistake opened one of the presets in Meld and realized, like, gosh, what's going on here? It's a whole groove by just pressing a button. And after investigating, I realized that it's got an interesting LFO. If you go into the LFO shapes here, you go into the LFO section and you go to Euclid. It's got a Euclidean LFO. I can't remember seeing a Euclidean LFO before. If that term is new to you, it's a mathematical concept that is used often to do percussion and drum machines, and you find Euclidean Eurorack modules, etc. I don't think I'm the best person to explain it, but I'm going to make a little attempt. It is a mathematical method basically allowing you to distribute things evenly. So if you have 16 steps and you want to have 4 triggers, let's say kick drums, the mathematical Euclidean model works out how those are going to be even distributed across the 16 steps, and you will get a 4/4 beat basically. And then you can offset that that whole cycle of your 4 beats within the 16, so you can have them on the off beat or whatever. So you can see here, this sort of illustrates it quite well, where you see these peaks because I've set it to Euclidean, and then you can sort of offset those in an interesting way. It's also more clever. You can have, let's say, rather than having 4 steps, you can throw 7 at it, even if you have 16 steps, and it will sort of work out, like if you have 7 triggers in a 16-step sequencer, what's the closest you can get to an even distribution? And the additional ones, because you can't divide 16 by 7 and get an even number, the additional ones, it will place them in the most, what's the word I'm looking for? It will try to distribute them basically. And this is something that's interesting when you're making beats, and also interesting when you have an LFO. So we are going to try to use this. I suggest, if it interests you, look into someone who explains Euclidean sequencers better than I can, but I hope that gave you an idea. So the next thing we're going to do is open up the modulation section. So you see we've got our triggers here, and then we are going to change the pitch modulation using LFO 1. So you can hear we got our drop there. The other thing that we're going to do is to enable that musical note there. That means that it's going to, rather than the frequency of this LFO is being measured in hertz, that it's going to measure it in beats and bars, etc. And that makes it easy when you do this to sync it to the rest of your music. I think it's going to become clear in a moment. So let's say that we want to add a few more steps in. That was less steps, but we can speed up the division to... Doesn't really sound like a kick, so let's take the pitch down a few octaves. Just to press the down key. Here you see the octaves. There we got something that sort of resembles a kick. I'm just going to make it easier to hear, depending on what headphones or speakers you have. So we just hear more of a tone. You can hear there at the end, when I'm holding the key down, you can still hear after the pitch has dropped that the note is sustained. First, I thought, like, what if I use this sequence and apply that to the volume? I just want to show you what happens, because it doesn't really work in the way I thought it would. So another thing here just about Meld, if you are fairly new to using it, in this modulation matrix, you can map it to quite a lot of things, and rather than having to scroll through the things and just finding the parameter, you can just, if you click on it here, you see that they are sort of getting highlighted. So I'm going to click on the volume and I'm going to attach this LFO1 to that, turn it up to 100%. You can see here on the volume, it doesn't affect it that much. So if I turn that down, it's just like, yeah, it's not really working as I would have hoped. I don't know if there is a way of increasing this, because I've clearly said I want 100% of this to affect the volume. So I had to find another way of trying to cut it out so we don't get those sustained notes. And I think the closest I've got to something is to use the filter frequency instead. So we click on that and then we attach the LFO to that. Turn the filter down. It's a bit cleaner. Anyway, this sounds like some sort of psytrance kick at the moment. So let's turn that down an octave more to -3 octaves. And then we could maybe reduce the pitch modulation level. Now we got a 4/4 beat. You hear there's a nasty click there. You can sort of maybe play around a little bit with these parameters if you want to get rid of that click. But I'm sort of going to live with it a little bit. And now we can hear, to sync this to the beat, we turn the metronome on, and then I've just done one sustained note here. So this should now sync. You can hear that it does. And let's say that this is quite boring. It doesn't really sound any IDM like. And if you have watched my channel before, you know that IDM is a bit of a thing here. So we'll get to that in a moment, but let's add something that's going to be a bit like a snare, let's say. So let's turn the first voice off and we turn the second voice on, and let's go to a noise oscillator for now. We're going to do the same here. We're going to go into the envelope and we're going to set it up in a similar way to start with. So let's set it to Euclid and let's see what values. We had 16 and 8. So let's just do that again. 16 and 8. And then we need to attach it to a few things. And does it work with... okay, yeah, so now we're operating over here in the orange section because we are using the orange voice, the voice B. So it's pitch gonna... And we do the same with the filter here. If we would turn these both on now, why do they sound... Ah, this one is not synced to... I hadn't set it to sync. So now you get the noise on every kick, and we don't want that. So let's offset this. You can use that with the degrees. So let's say, am I saying the right thing if I set it to 90 degrees? Or is it 180 that we need? Sort of like a hi-hat, I suppose, or something like that. But let's treat this more as a snare. So we want less steps. We'll set this to 4. Am I saying the right thing? No, we need more. Basically want 2. Bit weird, is it? I was just experimenting with this earlier, so I might not get this right. We'll have to experiment this together. Okay, we're closer. But now you get the snare on the first rather than on the second kick. You want the snare to be on the second and the fourth. So every time I press a key, the snare comes on, but we want the snare on the second one. So let's offset this. Am I saying the right thing if I say 180? Yeah, here we got a very basic 4/4 beat. Maybe we can do the D. Very boring 4/4 beat. So if we run this, this should now sync nicely to our track. So let's make this a little bit more IDM and interesting and see what we can do. So let's go back to the first voice here. Then we've got LFO 2, which is doing a lot less than LFO 1. You can basically choose a simple waveform, and we're going to do sample and hold, which is basically going to give us random values. I'm going to sync that to the clock. And then let's change the number of steps and things. Or is it the pulses maybe? We can do a bit of both, but let's see. So we use LFO 2 to change the number of steps maybe. And we can go into voice 2 and also set up a sample and hold in here. Sync that, and we can have that running at a different sort of rate maybe. And let's use that to use from voice B, the orange voice, to change the LFO macro, the pulses. And we can also try to experiment a bit with the voices just to get something a bit more interesting out of this. Let's try some comb filtering now. So maybe we can also just change this to some other. And let's do the filter frequency. Let's beef this up a bit by adding some dynamic stuff to this. Maybe some EQ. easily get carried away. I also want to mention, if you want to sign up to my Patreon, I'm going to share this project file with you. Obviously, you can just follow along and build your own one, but your support to this channel means a lot. And if you want to do a bit more with this, let's just keep going. Let's group that. So hitting Command G, so we get, and then I hit that button, so we see the different channels. We already got a meld in there, and then we can go and do another meld. So if we want to do something that's a bit melodic, let's just solo this meld for a bit. Shall I group the effects and maybe just turn them off for now? Okay, I'm going to freestyle this a bit because let's use that oscillator for now. Just can always change it later. And then we're going to go into the LFOs. Let's do let's go into here, and then we do random sample and hold. Synced to that. Synced to the beat, and then we go in and do the pitch modulation. We can do a quantized one, and it's LFO 2. That sounds dreadful, doesn't it? What does this do? I have no idea if that's going to sync this to the... I'm going to hope that by clicking that, this quantization is going to quantize it to the key that I'm in, but I have no idea if it's going to do it. But let's try. So I'm just going to hope for the best. We're experimenting together. So let's do minor pentatonic in D sharp, my old friend. That's only the black keys. That's pretty dreadful, isn't it? And then maybe we can use the Euclidean pulsate. What does that do? No, let's use the Euclidean again. Sync that and set that to the filter maybe. Oh no, sorry, that's the one I want. Need to turn that down. Oh, and then we can use the sample and hold to also change the... Oh no, not the... Oh, what an idiot I am. The motion. Let's blend that in with something from this guy here. We can use the blue LFO 2 to change the... Where is the pitch quantization here? Let's go down. We probably want to do the filter on this one as well, using the first LFO. Let's pick a different... Set that to sample and hold as well. Let's make it slow. Then we can change the filter frequency using this. Let's hear this together with our beat. Oh, well, we got it here, so we've got it played in, just one note. Oh, and we need to start the beat again. Oh, I think we need a more interesting Euclidean sequence, don't we? We need some other... We need these modulated by LFO2. And that one we can do with this LFO2. Let's start the effect again. This sounds pretty dreadful. Anyway, I get too carried away. It sounds really messy, but I think it's a super interesting little method. So go and check out the Euclidean thing in the Meld and make your own little beat maker thing. Thank you so much for watching, and do consider checking out my Patreon. Thank you very much. Goodbye.